Life's funny.
Captain Marvel's funny.
Funny bad. No, I wouldn't say it's bad. But so we saw Captain Marvel,
Captain Marvel.
or is it Marvel?
Oh my god.
Nick Fury is pretty fun. There were some fun sequences with some of the Earth characters, I thought. I liked the Skrulls and how they developed. I thought they were pretty all right.
Yeah, that was interesting. It was a nice progression from going from one place to another.
Yeah.
I liked the CGI makeup that they splattered on Sam Jackson's face. It's the first time I've ever seen anything where I feel like, wow, I can't tell that CGI at all.
Right.
That was great.
It was really good. It was convincing.
Yeah, it was. I feel like we've finally gotten to the point where it's like you can actually reverse someone's age and it looks convincing.
Yeah. The cat was kind of fun.
The cat was fun. Yeah, the cat was cute. What was his name?
Goose.
Goose, yeah. Goose, yeah. Goose was cute. I liked Goose.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for all the things we liked. I'm sorry to say that neither of us, it seems, really enjoyed it that much. And, you know, I wouldn't say that the film is horrendous and horrible.
No.
But it's messy. It kind of feels like that there's a lot of puzzle pieces in there that were just kind of glued together. Like, this piece doesn't really fit with this piece, but we're going to try to glue it together. You
mean in the world building aspect?
No, just the entire script. Like the entire thing.
It's trying to establish this alien world that she's growing up on, or she's living on anyway. So she's like sparring with Jude Law, and then has a couple other like scenes on the planet before they go on this mission. Then she like talks to the mentor intelligence lady thing, and in each one of these scenes, I'm getting nothing in terms of character except, I mean, okay, the fight with Jude Law, you're like, okay, like I guess.
Yeah.
I'm seeing something about maybe she's gonna have some struggles with her
little bit of a backstory. Yeah, I got the same vibe. In the very beginning, you don't really get to know anything. She wants to be like the police force or something like that for the Kree.
I was confused by that because I thought they were establishing, oh, you can't join the military or whatever because you can't control yourself.
Yeah.
But then they sent her on a mission. What is she being prevented from doing? Like the super military or some like...
Right. Well, and I think that's because a lot of this movie is exposition. Yeah. And I think that's the main issue, is that we never got those we never learned about her. She gets captured by the Skrulls, and then she's...
And then like dive into her memories, and then she breaks out.
Oh yeah, she crash lands in Blockbuster, which, yeah, it's funny. I mean,
sure.
Yeah. And then she comes out, and then she's trying to figure out like where she needs to be. And
already at this point, I'm feeling they've crammed way too much in her so far.
Yeah.
Like from a script writing standpoint, I would have had, okay, we'll get to know her on the first mission. We're gonna see her do a couple things that kind of tell us who she is.
But we never see her emote, and we never see her do anything, and we never learn about her. It's just like she's on the mission, now she's on Earth, now she's trying to get back, and that's it. I mean, she's kind of quippy.
There's a couple quips going back and forth. That got a laugh out of some people in my theater. You know, it's kind of funny. They're showing that the Skrulls are like, they can take the disguise of any person and infiltrate an organization or the planet even.
Yeah.
So all we're getting is they have some sort of nefarious plan where they're gonna infiltrate the whole planet and take over, maybe? It's a little vague, but that's kind of what we got.
The villains are just kind of like, there's nothing that's exemplified upon. You just kind of feel like, okay, there's like these evil aliens and they're bad.
I'm gonna go off on a Star Trek tangent for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Star Trek has several different formulas that they'll use in episodes, some of which are very creative, and they tell stories that have parallels and metaphors for our real-world lives. But then they have the lazy scripts that usually delve into a few different categories. They take characters that we know, and then they wipe their minds somehow, or they mind control them, or they have the virus infect them, so they're acting really strangely. They do these things that make us feel, oh, this is the character that I know, but it's not them anymore. They're being controlled or manipulated in some way.
One of the writers was lazy or didn't show up for work, like, oh, we gotta make an episode. What do we make the episode about?
Yeah.
Wipe his mind.
Right, and it's low budget too, because you don't need effects for that. So as soon as it became clear it was an amnesia story, I'm already thinking, really? Okay, so the main problem with this is that with an amnesia story or a mind control story or something else, basically what's happening is not character development. What's happening is the character recovering back to what they were. There's no net result of I learned something about the character or the character learned something about themselves. It's null, which makes it very boring to me. We are necessarily prevented of really learning anything about who Carol Danvers is. I still feel like I don't really know her as a character. There were more character moments with Sam Jackson. Like, he first sees the first Skrull. He was like, it was Coulson who was in his car, who ended up being a Skrull, and they got in a car accident and he died. And he said, "Whoa, wow, there's an alien next to me now." And his first instinct was to cover it with his jacket.
There's a little tiny character defining moment where you're like, oh, I understand.
Right.
You know, it builds on top of the character, just a subtle moment.
Yeah, it showed us something about how he thinks and the decisions he makes and the reactions he has to this like crazy situation.
Right.
I got very little of that from Carol. She's not really struggling with something. Jude Law was saying, oh, you know, you have to learn to control your powers, but we never saw that. It was never shown to us.
Yeah, there was this entire subplot where it says you need to control your emotions, but I never thought that she was a good actress in this at all. And so I don't know, I don't really, I've heard she's good in other roles, but for this one, I just kind of felt like that she fell flat.
Before I would criticize the acting, I would criticize the script. Because it doesn't write her as struggling with any particular emotions or self-control. That never comes across.
You know, it just never happens, and then it kind of gets muddled a little bit.
Yeah, or like her powers aren't like coming out sideways, like, oh, I couldn't control it and I just blew up somebody's car. Like, that doesn't happen.
That would be a great character-defining moment. That could be comical, and it could add something to her character. Okay. So, like, have you ever seen Memento?
Oh, well, yeah.
What you could do with amnesia stories, even with, I mean, yeah, because Memento is kind of like on a completely different playing field.
It's structured around that idea, and it works great.
Right. But what I'm saying is that there's a way that you can do amnesia in a way where it makes it fun. So, in a lot of movies, you know, you can just pick up on little points, like, you know, I'd be looking at a Scotch glass, and then I'm like, I actually remember something about that, and you know, like the camera slowly pans into my face, and then it pans into the glass, and then maybe a distraction, and then I'm looking over here. You know, it's just like interesting. This movie, it's just an information dump all at once. You know, you never see her pick up on little things like, oh, I remember that bicycle or something like that. I mean, you kind of see that in the bar scene, but it's very passed upon, and that's what I feel like happens in here, is that a lot of things are just passed on. It's just, here's the information dump. Like, she goes in after a while, and then she gets to hear like some tape recording from a black box, and figuring out like who she really is, and then that's it. So that's what I mean by artistic. Like, it's not put in the beginning of the film. It's not putting it's not layered. So
she doesn't change as a person.
No.
She just remembers, oh, this is what happened before I lost my memory.
Yeah, and it's never a goal for her. You know, in the beginning of the film, I was thinking, what's the driving force? And there's no real driving force in this. She's not really motivated to do too much.
Yeah, like, she just wants to link up with her squad again, right? That's kind of what she's trying to do.
Yeah, that's what I got
the
from
Skrulls. But then she finds out that the Skrulls are and then she kind of is like, oh, I guess I should help.
I guess we should go to spoilers for that now.
Yeah.
But yeah. So Skrulls, you find out, are bad, and
no,
they're good. You find out Skrulls are good.
I was actually waiting for it to twist it again, that they'd be bad in the end. I'm like,
that would actually.
I was like, are you gonna do that again? I'm glad they didn't actually. But
no, I did too, because in the middle of the film is actually when I was piquing my interest, because it was interesting to actually see, like, oh, the Skrulls are actually good guys, and they were kind of funny, and they were interesting to hear about their story and what was going on with them and such. But Sam Jackson in this he's fun to watch, and you know, for him to talk to the cat and such, because he's obsessed with the cat, and the film knows what you're trying to look out for, because you're like, oh, this is young Nick Fury. I wonder how he loses his eye.
Right.
And I kind of like that. It was comical. In the car accident, like, his eye gets a little bit red, and then and the movie's playing with your expectation. You're like, we know.
I like that.
Yeah, it's playing with you, and then you finally figure it out, and then it's just a cat scratch. At the end of the film, people are like, oh, I heard that you battled in the battle of, like, and it's like, I won't say no and I won't say yes. Like, that's great. Yeah. That's really good. I like that.
Sure. While I liked the first nod towards it, it's like, how far do you go before you're really, like, where did Sam Jackson get his iconic eye patch?
Yeah. You know? Yeah, I mean, like, I think it's fine if it's kind of subtle, doesn't really interrupt the story a lot. But I understand what you're saying, where it's like, oh, we got to explain, like, where everything come from. Like, what is your last name? Like, I don't have a last name. I'm Solo. Oh, okay, we'll call you Han Solo. Yeah, that's when it becomes ridiculous. But if it's just subtle and you don't really banter around with it too much, I think it's fine.
So it's tried to build this world of aliens and, like, alien races and, like, the Kree and the Skrulls and the Ronan and his accusers. A good movie, when it's making these alien worlds, you know, it makes you feel like, oh, I feel like I could be here. Like I kind of want to live in this world. But even though we saw her on the Kree world, like for several scenes, I would say, I got no vibe of that at all. Like it was such a flat and empty sort of experience.
That was the other thing too, is that the cinematography and just the color, I don't know, it was just kind of ugly. The entire film, like just everything was flat. Like nothing was really interesting to look at. You know, even their suits that they wear, the Kree, like the superhero suits or whatever, they're just kind of like a bluish, kind of gray, I guess. It was I don't know, it wasn't very colorful to look at, you know. And then she turns into at the end of the movie, she turns into the Captain Marvel suit, and I was like, that looks so much better. Why don't you guys like do that, you know? Like why did you go with the ugly colors? Maybe because they're assassins or superheroes and they want to be something, I don't know. But they even show that like you can change the colors if you want. So why don't it just be stealthy sometimes and then loud sometimes? I don't know. It's so middle of the road. It's so mundane. Nothing interesting is really in it.
Yeah, I thought even the action wasn't very
that was
fun.
that was the other thing. The action fell flat so many times. Like I wasn't invested in anything. It was just
there was so much shaky camera movement in the action. Like it's a sort of action that I don't like because it's a lot of fairly quick shots and shaky camera movements where like a lot of blurred, you know, images like
and intense music. Like when she's running really fast.
Yeah.
You know, just I don't know, it kind of looked goofy to me. It's never clearly defined what her powers are, what she can do. It's just she puts her fists out and then energy comes out and that's it. It's
just like Iron Man shoots those energy blasts. It's basically the same.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell.
Yeah, nothing really happens.
And I guess you can decide whether she kills people or not. She shoots Ben Mendelsohn with her blast in the facility, but he doesn't die. He just gets up and he's fine.
Right.
So I guess she gets to decide how strong it is, and she intentionally didn't kill him even though she knew he was a Skrull. And at the time, she would have killed him, I would have thought, because she's been trained to hate Skrulls, and she's probably killed tons of them.
Yeah.
So that was a little weird.
Right in the middle of the film, it felt like that it was force feeding us like emotion and trying to feel empathy and sadness because, you know, her friends are here now and she used to have a life here. And it's like, you can't do that to us. You have to start us all the way in the beginning, like have us like actually care about her. And I didn't care about anyone in the film.
They didn't earn it. They didn't build up the relationships between her and anyone else, really. Like when they drop us in with her old friend and her friend's daughter.
That's the main part I'm talking about.
Like we don't know these people. Like we haven't seen their chemistry or how they care about each other or their history. We just are told, oh hey, they used to be really close. Okay, I don't care yet.
Yeah, and again, that's exposition.
Yeah.
It's
telling us.
We don't see her like go out into the cornfield, her friend go out into a cornfield by her house and just try to be alone and just tearing up or anything like that. You know, it's just kind of like, well, I'll just casually tell you.
And she's just like, I don't care, I don't know you guys. That's what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
There were several points in the movie where they wanted us to feel things, but I felt I couldn't because they hadn't built us up that far.
That part when she figured out all about who she was and all that, it just felt like that it kind of happened early. Did you feel that it happened too?
It was abrupt, I thought.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not sure what they could have done differently. Like they...
Yeah, I don't know. It felt like that was the ending and that it happened way too early on.
Do you think it's because there wasn't like a catalyst to get her there?
Yeah, that's probably it. It feels like a movie that's just kind of tripping a lot.
She didn't have a downfall where maybe in the middle of the movie, if she was struggling with her powers, maybe she took off the thing off her neck much earlier, and then she's like, I can't control my powers, and I'm a failure, and I don't know who I am, and then she goes down, and she's at her lowest point, and then she figures out who she who really is, and then she learns something about herself that helps her control herself, and and then she rises up to her full potential. That's the sort of shape of a story that you might expect.
Yeah, like nothing is dug into, nothing's exemplified, everything is just surface level.
At that point, we found out that, the Skrulls are actually like good guys, and they give her the black box and stuff, and then it's like, oh, okay, so who is the bad guy now?
Yeah, and
so that's why they bring the Ronin out of nowhere.
Yeah, and then you're like, okay, so is Ronin now the bad guy? And then you find out that Jude Law's the bad guy, and he's not really a threat. The entire time I felt like this guy's evil. Like it was just so basic.
Yeah.
She starts saying things that only Earthlings would really know. And, you know, you can argue that, yes, she did used to be an Earthling, but the issue with it is that she doesn't really realize that she is, and so she just kind of, like, starts saying these things where it's just kind of like, how would she know that? That's really weird.
She never felt alien.
No, she didn't.
That's another element that could have been done in a more interesting way, I think. If you'd have her feel more alien as a person, and then when she remembers who she used to be, then that changes who she is in some way. Like, that could be interesting, but they didn't do anything with that.
Yeah.
She's the same person before and after. She just, she like rips the thing off her neck to gain her
I was
power.
actually just about to say that. They play with that, but they never really say anything about it. She never questions why the thing's on her neck. You never see anyone else with that thing on her neck, but it's just kind of a plot point.
It's a Star Wars restraining bolt. The only development that happened was you got a couple scenes of showing us who Sam Jackson is, which was kind of fun. You got the Skrulls had some development, which is
they were interesting. Yeah, they were really the only ones that had an arc.
Yeah. But really, the arc was just as we perceive them. Like,
they didn't change. As
a
race.
They were just who they were. But like, we got to experience, you know, the change in perception of them, which worked nicely, I thought.
Yeah.
And they were, you know, especially Ben Mendelsohn. He was fun.
A lot of the humor fell short for me too.
It wasn't a funny movie. It was a step removed from, I think, most of the other Marvel movies right now. Even Infinity War, I thought, had more humor in general.
Yeah, Infinity War, I mean, that's kind of like the god tier of Marvel films now.
It's got a great balance between the drama, the action, and the
comedy.
Humor. Yeah. And this didn't have that cohesive blend, really.
If it had something where it was like Alita, where the main actress, like, where you actually liked her, you know, she didn't really show too much about her character, but you just knew, like, emotionally, like, the way that she communicated, you just knew that, like, you're a good person.
Yeah, because the way Alita, like, reacted to everything around her, you could, like, feel it. It was always interesting to see how she interacted.
Emoted. Yeah, with this, and, I mean, if she was in this, that would have helped the film a lot.
Oh, yeah, take this movie, put Alita in it?
Put Alita in it. Yeah, do that now, please. Like, on the director's cut, like, have Robert Rodriguez and James Cameron in there. Put her back in. That'd be good.
That would be more interesting, yeah.
It would.
Because, like, that had a similar thing where she, like, Alita doesn't remember her past, and she's finding out more about herself, but she's, like, growing through the movie.
Yeah. Like, she does her karate kick. She's like, oh, where did that come from?
And we had some complaints about that as well. Like, that could have been done in a more interesting way where she's actually...
It could have been, but at least in that film, like, it was actually... She was kind of learning more and more about herself and, like, battle droid body and such, so...
She still was going in a direction.
And this one, it just kind of felt like it was just meandering a lot. And then there was, like, the Tesseract. It was just, like, many, like, ooh moments.
Yeah, like...
Oh, the Tesseract. And then it was like, oh, Ronan! It's Ronan! I remember Ronan.
The most boring villain.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
And, yeah, the Tesseract, it's like... What's even the point of seeing this again? Like, they've shown so many movies where, like, the Tesseract getting moved around.
It's the Tesseract. It's the Tesseract. Yeah. Like, I know it's the Tesseract. You can stop saying it now.
I just wish they'd fleshed out the character of Captain Marvel more. I want to know, like, what exactly are her powers? What makes her tick? Like, what is her motivation?
What are her values? What are her morals? Like, what is she fighting for? Why is she fighting for them?
Yeah, those are all, like, core questions that I don't feel I really got answered, which just feels kind of dissatisfying.
Yeah. The whole film, to me, kind of feels like a filler episode. It feels like that they didn't really put a lot of care and love into this. It didn't really feel like a lot of creativity. It kind of felt like just one of those episodes where it was just like, okay, we just kind of got to get this out of the way. And that's what it is. It's just there to introduce Captain Marvel. And you can really tell about that because with the after credits scene, you know, it shows her coming in and talking to... what is it? Hawkeye, Black Widow, and Captain America.
Oh, and Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah, in the theater, I just heard all the people go like, "Oh, Captain Marvel's gonna be in the movie!" And it's like, well, we kind of knew that from the last Avengers movie. And it wasn't really a fun origin story. Like, it was just like, we just got to get out of the way. It kind of felt like a Pirates of the Caribbean sequel.
Yeah. Ew.
You know, where it kind of felt like Villain of the Week. But it felt like really bad Villain of the Week. And it's so interesting that it's happening now, because Marvel... I've never walked out of a Marvel film, really, where I felt like this is bad storytelling. Because Marvel stories are kind of very much in the middle of the road where,
Yeah.
I mean...
They usually get the job done. They know what they're trying to do. And
Right. And
even if it's formulaic, it's usually like it works.
Right, and even in the very beginning, like Iron Man, like you watch the behind the scenes and you can tell he has such a passion and they're really trying to make this like a good story and such. Now they're kind of assembly line, but even though they're assembly line, they still get the job done. They still know what their audience is. And even though I did say that Captain Marvel is middle of the road, it feels like that it's like the lowest tier of middle of the road.
Yeah.
I always walk away from a Marvel film like, what's one that I really didn't like that much, but I thought was okay?
Did you see Ant-Man and the Wasp?
No, I didn't.
I thought it was pretty weak, honestly.
Yeah.
I'd say this is about the same level as that.
Ant-Man, like, they knew what they were doing with it. They knew that it was a really stupid superhero, but they kind of played that up.
This first Ant-Man, I thought they had it was pretty funny. They had a lot of, like, comedic stuff in it.
Because they knew what it was.
Yeah, it didn't take itself too seriously. I felt the second one did take itself too seriously. And then in the second half, they kind of upped the humor a bit, so it helped. But Captain Marvel, we really learned nothing new about the world. Honestly, I would be very surprised if you couldn't just completely skip this movie, because I can't imagine that Endgame or any future movie will rely on the events of this movie at all.
Yeah, we kind of just needed to see that, like, oh, look, Captain Marvel's here now.
Yeah, and we got
that's
that.
it.
We already knew that.
Yeah, we already knew that. So it's kind of, I mean, and you know, that's not to say that, like, I don't want a female-led superhero film. I mean, all I really want is just a well-made film. That's all I want.
Me too.
And if it's female-led and it's got great directors at the helm, that's great. You know, like, but it's really not that. If you want good female-led film, go watch Annihilation. That's good. No one talks about it, but it's good.
I felt like they didn't have a vision for this movie, which is weird because they've been talking about it for a while and it's got all this hype behind it. I just didn't feel like they had a story they wanted to tell. I feel like they've done a pretty good job overall in tying all these movies together and telling overall enjoyable stories that are kind of funny, kind of dramatic. And
it's interesting because it's the first one. It's the first one where it really feels like, ooh, this is slipping.
Actually, I got that feel from Ant-Man and the Wasp as well. I felt like they were kind of on an upswing. Now I'm not so sure.
Yeah, they kind of swung down.
I wouldn't really recommend it. But I'm looking forward to Endgame still.
I am looking forward to Endgame as well. So
I hope that in that she actually has more of a presence in terms of who she is and what she wants and how she's going to affect the plot.
Yeah, and actually learn about who she is and what she's doing. The only thing that'll stick with me is Sam Jackson's CGI face.
Sure.
Because that just...
done.
It was so well done, it never stood out to me.
And Goose. I like Goose.
Yeah, Goose. I love it because it subverts your expectations, just like it's just a normal cat.
Yeah. And they joked around about it. They're like, oh no, it's a monster. And
yeah.
They're like, it's a cat.
That was smart.
That
was
good.
really
like
intelligent.
Yeah,
I really like that. That challenged me. I like that. That was smart.
Yeah.
So
hey, there's something good about it.
Hey!
I wasn't miserable though. Like, were you like miserable through it?
No, I wasn't miserable. It was just, all right.
Yeah, I wasn't really like, I need to leave, but I was also like, when is this gonna end? But it also didn't feel like it was like 4 hours long. It was, it went by.
Yeah.
It was 2 hours of my life.
I don't hate the film. I just say it's
There's better things you can do with your life.
Yeah.